Hey, what's up everybody? It's the 12 Gauge Geek here on the Gaming Gulag, and today we are looking at the Nintendo Switch 2. This is a Switch 2 review. It's been 20 days since the Switch 2 has been out. It has sold over 3.5 million units. I think it's broke launch records. It's been, in most people's eyes, and I guess by the selling success, a very successful console thus far. But does that necessarily mean it's a good console? Does that mean you should go out and pick one up right now at $450 to $500, depending on, if you buy a bundle deal like I did or not? So this really, the main basis of this video is just all my opinion on telling you guys my thoughts on if this was worth it or not. And yeah, so let's get into it. So the Switch 2, obviously, it came with, inside the box, you had the Switch. I'll just open it up here so I can kind of show you guys as I talk about it. But you had the Switch, you had the Joy-Cons, you had, I can probably swing it over here. You had the, Switch 2 docking unit that was slightly different from the old docking units. And then it came with the Switch itself, the two Joy-Cons, and the charger. Now, the charger I do really like. I feel it's a big improvement. I like that it's, a separate piece. The block and the wire are separate. So if one of them goes bad, you could just easily swap out, one for the other and possibly, interchange it with a cheaper kind of block or whatever would work. But, yeah, so not much to what came in the box. It's all simple. It's pretty much the same stuff that would come in like a Switch 1 box. But first impressions with taking it out of the box, it definitely felt lighter. It felt thinner. It's much larger, but also larger, larger width-wise, but larger, would you say, what is that, height-wise as well? So, like, for me, I have kind of noticed, I haven't played it much in the handheld mode, but I've noticed that, like, it almost feels, here, I'll take it out again, it almost feels like it's almost too big for my hands. I don't have the biggest hands. Now, some of my coworkers who do have bigger hands might like this, but, like, for me, just to try and get up here and back down there at times, like, I definitely kind of have to slide up and down. Now, I haven't played this in, like I said, handheld mode for prolonged periods of time, so I don't know how, like, fatigued my hands would get, but I imagine they would, because even playing my OLED here, which is what I was playing for hundreds of hours before I bought this, and then I haven't even really played this, if I'm being honest, the OLED. Love this thing. I really hate that Nintendo didn't make these interchangeable onto the Switch 2. I do hate the design of how, I like the magnet for how the Joy-Cons attach, but I hate the electrical pin being on the console instead of actually being on the Joy-Cons itself, because I feel like if you get an electrical pin that messes up, then you got to get a whole new console, and it seems like just a flimsy kind of design, especially it being exposed when you have it in the docked mode. And I just didn't care for that, as opposed to, how they did it with the Switch 1. The Switch 1 also, it does kind of feel, maybe because it's slimmed down or smaller, it feels a little like beefier in my opinion. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. Like I said, I haven't played with this in handheld mode for a prolonged period of time, but I'll have to find that out with the Switch 2 to see if it being maybe lighter, if that'll play a difference, and that's why it feels kind of flimsier. But we also have here my wife's. This is her LCD, so I just wanted to take these out real quick just to show you guys kind of a quick comparison, because I thought it's cool that, I'm all you guys for like size comparison wise. You got here, let me not drop them because they big. Okay, Switch 2, let me get it out of the way of the boom on. Switch 2 OLED model. Switch 2 LCD model. Now, I think the OLED screen, yeah, it's definitely bigger, so you can see the drastic change in size from one to the other. Here, I'll try and turn them on for you guys just so you can see real quick. Odds are the LCD is dead. Oh, we got a little bit. Okay. It's giving me the battery, but just so you guys can kind of see it, you know, to get some more perspective. And then I'll actually open this up because I did charge for this video. I actually tried to be prepared for once. I actually charged up here my Switch 1 just so you could get a comparison. And then I'll show you guys again. So there we go. So OLED Switch 2. I did the Switch 2 in dark mode because another big depressing thing when I first opened it, I hadn't even considered that it was going to be the same UI. Or, yeah, that would be right, user interface. And it definitely is like, it's not a big deal, but it's like, come on, Nintendo, you couldn't have spiced it up a little bit, you know? You're switching a whole generation console. At least try and make it feel a little fresher. It's a minor gripe, if I'm being honest. But a bigger gripe, and still in many of your guys' eyes might seem minor, because you may not even use your Switch for this, but I hate that they didn't give it any sort of movie app capability. Where's the Hulu? Where's the Tubi? Where's the Netflix? Where's the Crackle? Where's any of that stuff? The YouTube and the Hulu that they had on the Switch 1, that was it. And then from what I've read, they're not even working currently on the Switch 2, and it's like, how did you drop the ball there? You really didn't think people would want to watch movies on their Switch? Like, it's such a, in my opinion, like a common thing you should be putting in any game system nowadays, especially as I read more on the Steam Deck and learned that you can even stream, like, on Twitch. No Twitch on there either, no Discord, nothing. You can stream straight to Twitch from your Steam Deck. And once I read that, it was even more kind of baffling. Like, what are you doing, Nintendo? You're trying to release a handheld. I mean, you already had the Forerunner handheld in the market, and then the Steam Deck came out, and all the other, you know, like the ROG Ally and all of those, the Legion, I think, the Claw. I don't know too much about all of those, but I know they can do a lot more stuff with the interface than Nintendo's can, and it just kind of baffles me why they shortchange themselves and shortchanged us as customers from that, especially at the price point that they're charging. So that's just another small thing. $80 games. $80 games. This has been a massive topic throughout the whole thing. I am definitely against $80 games. I think games were already too expensive at $60 and $70. When I heard games were going up to $70, my coworkers would tell me that, and I would say, bullshit. I haven't seen $70 games, and they slowly started to trickle in. And it's rare that I do buy a $70 game. I'm not sure that I have when I think about it. I'll usually just wait because I'm cheap. Like, even Elden Ring, I don't want to buy at, I think, $60. It might be just because I'm cheap. I'd rather wait for a sale, you know? So seeing the $80 game jump, it definitely hurt, because I grew up with Nintendo. When Nintendo, they were making Game Boy games, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP, and even like GameCube games. And I remember all of those, even Nintendo DS games, being, for Pokemon specifically, because that was the main game that I was playing on Nintendo systems, was always about $25 to $30 forever. Price never went down or anything, never changed. Let me click my camera back. Oh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, the $80 game jump was just very drastic to see. Now, the only argument, in my opinion, that I'll give Nintendo a leg to stand on with it is where they said that, like, I can't remember if it was the length of time it takes to make the game, or necessarily like how many of those games will you release on that system. Like, I think there was only ever one Super Smash on Switch 1. There was only one Mario Kart 8 on Switch 1. There were 2 Zeldas. Now, with Mario Kart World, I can understand them charging $80 because it's not like they're gonna make another Mario Kart in the life of the Switch 2, I think. Now, with games like Kirby, with games like Zelda, where you're gonna make multiples, it gets kind of egregious, in my opinion. It gets even more so when you go away from Nintendo and look at like Call of Duty or like FIFA and Madden and all of those that release the same slop every year, and now you're telling me you're gonna charge $80 for that same slop? That's crazy. Like, GTA 6 is a good example, because when that game finally releases, we won't get another one for years. It's going to be, same with Elder Scrolls 6, it's going to be there for the next 10 years. It at least has such longevity to at least justify an $80 price tag, where most of the games nowadays can't even justify a $40 or $60 price tag. They're coming out laggy, they're trash, they're DI slop, they're basically half built, or they're microtransaction heavy or locked behind paywalls. Their stories are lacking, multiplayer is bland. I could go on and on and on. There's a laundry list of games, but certain games I don't think deserve to even try and make that jump to the $80 mark. So with Nintendo, I think they're reaching in a lot of games' case. In certain games, I can see it, but for me as a consumer, it just hurts. Who wants to pay more money for anything, right? We all want things to be cheaper, and I feel like in the front of games being on sale, we're actually doing a lot better in that regard, because games do seem to be on sale frequently and on multiple different platforms. So you can kind of chase what different sales you're looking for. If you don't find one here, you can try a different avenue. And in that regard, I think things have gotten a lot better for us as gamers. But in other ways, to see the hike slowly climb, it's definitely worse. So, yeah. Aside from that, Mario Kart World, it's been pretty fun.